guys, welcome back to another cult movie review. Thanks so much for watching and checking out the channel. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, it means a great deal. Today I'm going to be checking out the 1995 John Travolta movie White Man's Burden. The movie was written by Desmond Nakano and produced by Lawrence Bender, co-founder of Quentin Tarantino's production company, A Band Apart. Now, I already heard about this film a few years ago. I was reading an article about John Travolta's film career, and this movie was mentioned. Anyways, I came across this Twitter thread the other day on X, and basically people were tweeting their favourite forgotten films. In this discussion, the film White Man's Burden came up, and that spurred me on to go check it out. I ended up watching the trailer online to, get a feel for what this movie was about. First off, John Travolta and Harry Belafonte are two guys I'd never expect to be kind of teaming up in a movie together. It was a unique pairing, but it worked, and credit to Belafonte, who had a limited acting career, take on this big supporting role opposite a seasoned actor like John Travolta. I guess the most intriguing aspect of White Man's Burden is that it's supposed to take place in this alternate reality where African Americans are the privileged race and white people are the ones oppressed, which mirrors the racial hierarchy in American society. I must say, once I found that out, I was very intrigued and interested to sit down and watch the film and see how it all played out. So the film follows John Travolta's character, Louis Pinnock, who basically loses his job over a misunderstanding brought on by this high-level businessman, Thaddeus Thomas, played by Belafonte. Pinnock is this low-level factory worker doing his best to provide for his family. He was trying to make ends meet to maybe one day move out of his dangerous neighborhood. When he unfairly loses his job, the financial situation puts a major strain on him and the rest of his family. Pinnock's life then takes a dramatic turn when his house is repossessed, leaving his family homeless. Pinnock tried to seek other work opportunities but was ultimately unsuccessful. With nothing left to lose, he kidnaps Thaddeus Thomas at gunpoint outside his house. Pinnock demands some money that he believes is still owed to him. Thomas, confused and shaken, agrees to Pinnock's request, but things get complicated when he fails to withdraw the money from the bank. It's the weekend, the banks are closed, and so Pinnock is then forced to hold Thomas hostage over the weekend until the banks reopen. Over the course of the next few days, we would see the trials and tribulations the two experience together while on the run from the police. First and foremost, I believe it's the story's premise that pulls the viewer in. That's the most intriguing aspect of this film. As one of the movie's taglines stated on the poster, reality just changed sides. White Man's Burden definitely provides a fresh take on the whole issue of racism in American society. Movies in the past that had previously touched upon this usually showed the story from the perspective of the oppressed. This movie takes a different approach by showing the audience what it would be like if the roles were reversed. It sheds light on how white people would feel if they were discriminated against the same way people of colour are in American society. The beginning scenes were brilliantly crafted to show life on the flip side for both races. There's a scene where a small white child is sitting on the sofa flipping through the TV channels, and nearly every station we see on screen features a person of colour. I took that to indicate to me in this alternate reality, the dominance of black culture in media. Just thinking about it again, it was a very intriguing scene. So, in this reality, white entertainers and white people in general are rarely seen on TV. I wanted to know more about this world and its current landscape. But soon after, the whole thing does take a bit of a left turn, and this interesting premise gets watered down. Still, White Man's Burden is a drama that does indeed challenge our preconceived notions about race and privilege. For a movie that was released in the mid-90s post the 1992 LA riots, it really is a pretty significant decision by Tarantino's production company to spearhead this project. It's in no way a perfect film, but it does attempt to deliver a powerful message that is still relevant in today's America. Later on in the film, there is a good scene where Thaddeus Thomas, Belafonte's character, escapes and gets away from Pinnock, who basically wasn't looking. Thomas, who is panicked and confused, would ultimately break into a nearby house and use their phone to contact his wife. Well, one thing leads to another, and before Thomas can tell his wife exactly where he is, a young girl walks out into the living room and starts screaming. Then suddenly the girl's dad runs into the room, threatening to call the cops, thinking that Thomas is a burglar. And from the family's perspective, I totally see that. Anyone would automatically think that. Thomas would eventually make it out alive, just barely, but as a viewer, you can appreciate the terrible predicament the character found himself in. When it comes to John Travolta's character, he does deliver a solid performance as the worker Lewis Pinnock. He was great, portraying the character's struggles and emotions. His everyman quality he brings to screen really shone through here in White Man's Burden, making it one of Travolta's better films from that era. I believe if this film hadn't starred John Travolta, I would have been fairly bored watching, because nearly every scene without him is pretty poor. Watching this movie, viewers will have to overlook the illogical decisions some of the characters make. For example, Pinnock loses his job. Surely there would be some legal case to be answered for. Pinnock gets unfairly dismissed from his job. Wouldn't that be an unfair dismissal? Pinnock never exhausted his legal options. Instead, the character kind of went from one extreme to the other and abducted Thomas at gunpoint outside his house. For the sake of the plot, certain things do get ignored to move the story along, which for the most part didn't really bother me. But in reality, someone in Pinnock's situation would, of course, seek all legal avenues before taking such drastic measures. And thinking about it, it's kind of like a missed opportunity, because the film could have showcased the corrupt, racist judges and the law system itself that this alternate reality has. But it just kind of gets brushed aside and we move along with this kidnap plot. I want to take a moment to mention the performance of Harry Belafonte, who played the wealthy African businessman Thaddeus Thomas. Belafonte's character was the complete opposite of Travolta's. He was this wealthy, well-spoken, highbrow kind of guy living with his family in this gated community. Watching this, I definitely got the impression that Thaddeus Thomas and his family lived in their own bubble and unaware of the everyday struggles people face. Belafonte's character at times finds himself lost and tries to understand the situation he is in. I did feel sorry for the character, even though it was through his actions that caused his own abduction. Given Belafonte's limited acting filmography, full credit to him for delivering a solid performance. It's nothing outstanding, but it's more than passable. And you've got to understand that a legendary singer coming into the world of acting, it can be a hard transition, but I felt Belafonte did a great job. I also want to mention the on-screen chemistry between Travolta and Belafonte. This film, the plot, having these guys together, throughout the main part of the film, the chemistry, was vital for the project to work. It's not perfect, but it's done decently. Though Harry Belafonte's character, Thaddeus Thomas, is a closed-minded racist, the character does go on to develop a sort of friendship with Pinnock, Travolta's character. Their relationship is palpable, and it does add depth to the overall storyline. This film had a low-budget B-movie type vibe to it, which mirrored the dark themes conveyed on screen. White Man's Burden lacks the visual appeal, and in no way is this a beautiful movie to rewatch again and again. But I got the feeling that may have been the original intention, giving this movie a more basic, raw tone and not to distract from the core story elements. And so, dislikes for White Man's Burden, 1995. My main dislike would have to be the film's story and message becoming diluted as it progressed. I enjoyed the setup, the first half of the film, but after that, the movie never really picked up, nor did it really build upon the ideas that it had introduced. The film tackled an essential and relevant topic, but the execution, in my opinion, fell short. Also, the film's slow pacing didn't help. Going into this movie, I did have some preconceived ideas about what I would see on screen. And, in fairness to the trailer, it didn't really give away too much. But I expected to see a more compelling, upside-down representation of the world we actually live in. Yes, absolutely, there is more emphasis on the black community being more successful than their white counterparts. Yes, we do see many black characters in prominent positions of power, but for me, the whole role reversal idea felt underdeveloped. And in fact, if you happen to sit down and watch this movie without knowing anything about it, likely you'd be hard pressed to believe that this story was set in a parallel world. And I say this because we see a white police officer on duty, we see a white restaurant owner, and we see a black man standing in the unemployment office when Pinnock shows up. So this is an alternate reality, but we still see diversity in this society. I said it earlier, missed opportunity, but that's also what it feels like here, a missed opportunity for the filmmakers to deliver a more compelling drama. Another dislike I wanted to quickly mention was Travolta's accent. We see the character use this low-class ghetto accent that kind of felt forced and unnatural. There were some dialogue scenes that came off heavy-handed and cliched, which in turn took away from the film's overall quality. I'm not sure exactly what Travolta was attempting to do with this accent and the mannerisms, but a more experienced director would have likely have told Travolta on set to, calm it down. I personally didn't find it too distracting, but I can imagine it would annoy many viewers. And so, ratings for White Man's Burden, 1995. Going to be rating this movie a 4.5 out of 10. White Man's Burden is not a bad movie, but besides the premise, there's really nothing that memorable about it. The idea behind this movie was to wake up Caucasians and African Americans to the disparities and inequalities when one race has power and total dominance over the other. Two wrongs don't make a right, but that message never really materialized. I guess maybe in some way having both characters flawed showcased there's good and bad in everyone. This movie is worth a watch, but I wouldn't say it's essential viewing. If you're a fan of John Travolta's work, like myself, I believe that you will enjoy it. But if you're expecting some deep emotional drama about the toils of racism, then you'll probably dislike it. It's an interesting dynamic for sure, but the film basically fails to fully explore its own subject matter. But yeah, that's my review for White Man's Burden, 1995. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It means a great deal as I'm trying to grow the channel. Take care, guys.